origin story, essentially, right? When did you hear of the yang?
When did you get yang?
When did you get yanked?
Hang on.
But that was
now recording.
Welcome to the Yanggang Roundtable. It is Saturday, November 28th, 2020. I'm here with Ariel, Faye Doney, Faye Koo, our guest Gina, and Mia Songbird. We are a basic income advocacy podcast. We're all basic income advocates in our own right. So I'm going to hand the virtual microphone over to Gina to have her introduce herself. Please, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was Anyway, welcome to the show. It's nice to meet you. Please tell us about yourself.
Good to meet you all. All right. Well, I came to be here today because I volunteered with Faye. I met Faye Doney, that is. Faye, we met in Iowa. I ended up going to Iowa to volunteer with Sorority of Yang because I was like, oh, it's like a couple hour bus ride away. Like I have a free place to stay. I've never done anything kind of like this before, but this could be fun. It could be like, some networking stuff and all that. Kind of just like fell into things, met the coolest, most amazing people, ended up meeting up with them in Nevada as well. And then pretty much since then, it was like getting back from Nevada, starting to get back into work. I work in restaurants in town. And then things just like completely falling apart, as you can expect. So that's a place that I come from very much is the restaurant industry, the restaurant scene in Chicago. A lot, chef-driven restaurants, the kind of ones that are like, on the James Beard and Michelin sort of, hopeful scene. And I really, really love the community. It really carried me through graduate school. For graduate school, I did design. So right now, I'm kind of like, I'm a designer, and I'm trying to work on design for food and beverage and whatnot, and bridge that gap between the two industries a bit. So then an offshoot of that was, or at least for me, was the Love Fridge, which is a mutual aid program here in Chicago. Basically, like the elevator pitch is we set up publicly accessible refrigerators around the city of Chicago. We try to have them be 24/7 accessible. We fill the fridges with food, and people are welcome to leave what they have and take what they need. And we've only been in working together as a group for, I want to say 3 months, 4 months. What month is it even?
It was quite the baby when you first talked about it. Yeah.
It was a very much a baby. The reason I found out about it was because one of my friends who's an artist, we have the fridges that we set them up, wherever, but then we try to get local artists to paint them. So that, they paint, free food, comida gratis, all of that stuff, on the fridge, and a lot of muralists and graffiti writers and stuff. And I'm friends with a lot of those kind of people. One of my friends painted the very first Love Fridge, which is at a place called Mars Community Brewing in Bridgeport in Chicago. That's kind of like south of downtown. Not necessarily like a really needy area in and of itself, but it's kind of like a crossroads, and it's also the people at Mars were really, really enthusiastic and really wanted to help us start setting it up. So I noticed that he had painted this fridge, and I was like, that's the coolest idea I've ever heard. Oh my God, how do I do this? I love Mars Brewing. I love those guys. Like, what do I do? So I just reached out to them as soon as I could and was like, this is amazing. How do I get involved? I want to help. And it's kind of gone from there. We're a very decentralized group. The Love Fridge Chicago, as an organization, is really just kind of a loose collection of about 15 to 20 core organizers, of which I am one. We try to work in a very democratic way, and in a very really like an anarchic way. In the end of the day, because it's hey, I need this right now, and people are just like, yeah, I can do that, or people are like, hey, does anybody know how to do this? And we all just kind of come to each other when we need things. We have a few people who are working pretty much full time, doing things like distributing food to fridges. We have a lot of community partnerships with groups and restaurants and stuff. This is all like, I mean, scratching the surface. So that's the general intro to the Love Fridge.
I just gotta say, I love it. I love it. There's a few more things I didn't actually know about. So like the artist, like, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Not just
well,
people with food.
Exactly. Well, that's one of the beauties of the way that we've styled it. We're not a charity organization. First and foremost, we are not charity. We are mutual aid. Mutual aid is kind of like becoming more of a term. I actually hadn't really heard that term until I started working with the Love Fridge, but I had done things that were basically mutual aid before. So if you have ever heard of Food Not Bombs, that was a thing. It started in, I want to say the 80s, or maybe even earlier than that. I don't know when it started. But like when I was in college, I lived in a house where we would get donations 2 times a week from a grocery store in the neighborhood. And we would save all of that food. We would eat some of it. And then on the weekend, we would set up a table in the neighborhood nearby and give away free food. We'd make a big meal, and then we'd, make produce bags. And we were filling up a sunroom in a Rogers Park apartment is about the size of maybe like a very, very large New York studio apartment. Let me put it that way. And we would fill up that sunroom every week, like full to bursting with food, like more food than we knew what to do with. And this is just from one Whole Foods, like back a little while ago. So that was like my first brush with that sort of idea, the idea of we have all this food, it's going to be thrown away anyway. Let's just give it away. Like all we have to do is like find a way to get this food into people's hands, which very much ties into the idea of the scarcity mindset and all of these kind of things. We can go anywhere with this conversation.
It's a distribution problem we were just trying to solve. The real shame to waste food when people are hungry. The real shame for to waste money when people are poor.
So my grandfather, this makes me think about what my grandfather does. So he works part of a thrift store that also collects food from the local Safeway, the local food store. And they make bread boxes and they give it to homeless people, one box per family. I mean, he complains that certain families grab more than their share, right? And he's like grumpy about it. And I feel like your form of it, right, releases that like, this is how much you get, and there's like no, like, it's easier, it's more fluid, and I think what he does is amazing, right? I think what you guys are doing is amazing, and I think regardless, I'm happy people are being fed, right?
Yeah, you've become very quiet.
Most definitely.
I'm not
I
sure
can
if
hear
you're
you
far
pretty
away
well.
from your microphone or what. I'm quite quiet. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Wait, I'm quiet or Faye is quiet?
Faye is. No, it's about the same. No, don't worry about it.
So I'd like to ask, how are they like set up? Are they out in the open? And if so, do you experience any vandalism or anything like that? Or are they pretty well, respected by the community because they are understood and to be a service and that sort of thing? Like, how are they treated in the community?
So that is a fantastic question. Hold on, I've got to get this cat out of my way because she is trying to climb on my computer, and I don't want that to happen. One moment.
It's so warm, though. So warm up there.
What?
It's so warm up there, though. I'm sure the cat's just.
Wait, it's warm?
I mean, on the computer, where the cat, where the cat wants to be. I'm sure.
I was like, it's 35 today.
No,
It's not that warm. It's just really funny.
No. Don't mind me. Please continue.
Of course. So that's one of the first questions that we really get is like, how do you, well, first of all, like, where do we accommodate the fridges? I'll start with, where do we accommodate the fridges? Mostly it's been partnerships with either local restaurants or sometimes local community organizations like churches or community centers or other kinds of missions. So most of our fridges, we try to make them 24/7 accessible. So they are set up like in Mars, they are like at the loading dock. We've set it up there. They're plugged in. All the host has to do is to provide the electricity. We've even provided like the extension cord. Like, I think when we set up our second fridge, somebody was like, hey, we just realized that we need a really, really, really long extension cord for this one. Who can help? And everyone just kind of like PayPal'd like $5 and somebody went to buy it. And then somebody showed up at Moreno's to plug the fridge in. So that's also very yanggang, like in terms of like, everybody like on the Twitter chat, like, hey, who can bring signs to XYZ,
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've also then, at first, we're just setting up the fridges. Then we started building, our goal before the winter has been to build shelters around the fridges. We build like a little roof for them and some shelves off to the side for dry goods and things like that. We're experimenting with some different stuff in that vein. And then we have the artists, paint the fridge and paint the shelter. We also have like signage and whatnot that we hang up there that's have things about, food safety, like don't put raw meat in here in the bottom of the fridge, only frozen meat, little guidelines like that. So when people approach it, it's already, we also have fridge managers who will check in, periodically over the course of the week. But beyond that, it's really about just, setting a standard. And when people see this thing and they see that it's well taken care of and they see that people are actually going there and taking things and leaving things, I really believe that people are inclined to keep that up. And then another part of that is being able to work with these either community organizations. For instance, we've partnered with a group called Port Ministries, which is on the south side. They are actually Franciscan Capuchin friars who have a community center down there. And they're really, really into the Chicago back of the yards community. They do a lot of mutual aid and outreach and community programs already. So by connecting with them, they and the people that they work with in their neighborhood know better than anybody what that community needs. So it's also about giving, when we put up the fridge, making sure that people have a sense of ownership, that the people in the neighborhood know that, okay, we're not just coming in here and dropping this is your fridge. And if everybody takes care of it, then we're all going to be good. Like we have, we set up another one on the south side recently. And one of our volunteers, Manny, was down there making a drop. And there was like some little girl just like ran down the corner and like opened the fridge and was like, what do you want? They've got apples. They've got, like, she's calling down the block to her friends to like tell them what they have. And she like grabs something and then goes. But like, people are.
So just a sense of community ownership has kept the fridge safe and not like vandalized or plundered or anything like that. Yeah. That's remarkable in this country also, where there's pretty much very little community, in most places.
Oh yeah.
Well, there is the community in those places. They're just not as visible. Maybe if you're like looking top down, if you're like in a big picture way at the city, like not a lot of people are going to be talking about these like smaller community churches that have been doing, breakfasts, like free breakfasts for years or something like that. So we really want to, tap into those and build community with those people. What was I going to say about the other thing is with having the murals and the art on the fridges is also a big preventative of graffiti or vandalism that isn't like art or whatever, because there is kind of I'm a big fan of graffiti writers in the city and stuff, and there is an unspoken sense of community respect that, if somebody who is an artist has taken the time to paint this thing, then, trying to mess it up is a real dick move. Like, if you'll pardon my French, like it's against the code of the streets, as it were.
It's all, if you feel like the people in your community are like people who care about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I almost feel like you guys should partner with people who do free libraries too, and then just like make it this little like buzzy spot where like you can just share resources,
So
like,
may I go ahead?
More normal people in there.
May I go ahead and share? I would like to share my screen while looking at some of the photos of the beautiful fridges that you have. Is that all right?
Please do.
I'd love to tell
let's see if it will work. All right, that's your website. And
Let me see if I
are you able
Just
to
click
see
on,
it yet?
Click on watch stream.
Yeah,
If you hover over Faye's name on the left, get the option. There we go. I've got it on our stream now.
There it is.
All right, so that very first fridge on the left that I see with that's kind of tall.
Hold on,
feels
I'm
like
waiting
there's-
for it to load.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait, watching. It says watching stream. I can see it. I can see it like when I hover, but I can't see it in the layout here.
If you click on it, then what happens?
Yeah, it's still coming up as loading when I bring it up on the thing proper. But I can see, when I hover, I can see the picture that you're talking about.
Okay, so can you see the tall fridge on the left with it's a little bit green on the top and red and black on the bottom?
That one, I believe, let's see, the tall fridge on the left. And I really wish this would get big for me. Hold on.
What if you double click on it? Are you on a laptop?
Oh, I got it. I got it. All right. Yes, I believe that off the top of my head, I believe that tall green one is literally at someone's house on the south side. That may be the Englewood fridge. I don't remember seeing the paint job on that one, but you can see we have our little I see your pointers there. You've got your little information sheet. This fridge was like a commercial fridge that was donated to us, so it has that like nice plexiglass door. We've been donated like a full-on florist size fridge before. That we have one that's at a farm on the south side.
Okay, so all these the fridges are donated to you, and yes. The materials for building these enclosures also.
Yes.
And artists have decorated them.
Mm-hmm.
And this info sheet tells you how to use it. Can you describe how people are supposed to use it?
So it basically, well, it says that, take what you need and leave what you have. It has instructions about if we have prepared foods going in the fridge, they must be packaged and dated. We're not like accepting just like random Tupperware full of potato salad. But, if you bought a Tupperware of potato salad, like from Jewel, from the grocery store, and like it has a label on it and stuff. Or sometimes we also have restaurants who package stuff themselves and like label and date them. But it also says no meat or no raw meat in the fridge, only frozen meat in the freezer area. It also has the basic, we usually have either inside the fridge or in the little, I believe on that one, the shelves are on the other side. We'll have some sanitation supplies. We ask that people, after they're done, wipe down the handle, wipe down the fridge, make sure that there's nothing expired in there, make sure that there's nothing else that might be questionable. And beyond that,
do you guys provide a trash near it so people could do that kind of work as they go, or like the stuff gets thrown away later?
We have a trash can integrated on some of these. We've also, I think you can see on, if you go to the fridge that has the veggies on it, that one has a trash can right next to it there, that black thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, the black trash can. Okay. And I see that these other two here seem to have a pantry that is not refrigerated. And you can put the canned goods and things that are like fruit even, it looks like. That doesn't
anything
need
that's
to be
dry or doesn't need to be refrigerated. Also, people, even before we asked people to do that, people were already leaving things like, some people were putting books in there. Some people were putting, personal care items, diapers, menstrual products, PPE products, things of that nature.
That is so great.
This one with the beautiful lady on it is at Stone Temple, which is a historic church in Lawndale, I want to say, on the south side. And actually, that church, the Stone Temple, Martin Luther King Jr. spoke there back in the day.
That's so awesome.
I really like the art because it makes it like come to life, It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it makes it extra fun. It's also fun to have when we have people go out to paint the fridges. Kind of becomes a little meet and greet of its own. People come by to see what's happening. They learn a little bit about the fridge and all.
It's also like an opportunity to talk about the community through the style of it, like the individual areas. Each one of these is tailored to the specific place it's at, as opposed to, being forced into the space.
Yeah.
Do you notice different types of ethnic foods, like in certain neighborhoods, or is it like, that's awesome?
Yeah. Actually, if you scroll back just a moment, there's a lime green fridge that I can show you with the red. Yes. So that one is at Moreno's, which is a very long-running local liquor store that is in Little Village, which is a historically Mexican neighborhood. So we actually we keep track of, there's certain fridges that need tortillas more often than others. There are certain fridges that, need certain things. I know I'm talking about setting one up that's in a very Chinese and Vietnamese neighborhood. And we've already started talking about, like, if we do that there, can we make sure that we have, ingredients that people know and recognize? Also, the Moreno's fridge is interesting because that's one that is not 24/7, but we were able to fit the fridge with casters. The entire thingy, including the shelter, is on casters. So they bring it out at the beginning of the day, and then they put it back into like their little, like, vestibule and stuff at the end of the day and lock it up so nobody messes with it. They weren't able to do it 24/7 in a safe way, so that's how we accommodated them.
That one solution opens up so many more locations, wouldn't it? Because that could be potentially a problem at a lot of locations. Yeah, that is really cool.
Definitely.
I just wanted to say hi to Joshua, who has joined us. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
We're really enjoying the photos of these great free love fridges that are in Chicago right now.
Those look awesome, by the way.
I think it's cool because Josh is part of a tribe, and his tribe during this pandemic has also tried to do things to get away from food scarcity. You want to share a little bit about that?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, well, I was talking to Josh. Josh has been getting his.
Oh, Josh,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no.
Oh, hey, yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, one of the things that we've done for like food scarcity is nationalize our product line. Basically turning all our meat and agricultural products and giving it to the citizens, which is pretty cool. And then we're working on like our own like miniature like farming systems too. So like urban farming.
That's awesome. We have a good partnership with actually a lot of urban farms, and we've seen a lot of urban farm, not just like, big, more established types of farms, or like, indoor, warehouse type farms that are, friendly, nice businesses, but also a lot of people who just, tend a small community garden that's like in a vacant lot. They'll come by and they'll put their extra produce in the fridge.
So, if people wanted to start their own love fridge, how would they go about doing it, Gina?
Well, we were first inspired by the community fridge idea. Has been around for a little while. I think the first ones may have been up in Berlin, or the first ones we heard of. But that was definitely a thing that was going on in Europe. And then our founder, my friend Ramon, was directly inspired by a community fridge program in New York. A good way to look that up is thefridge.com. It's like the fridge, but like with free in it. I've posted it I'll put it on Twitter again. But the fridge actually keeps track of community fridge programs worldwide.
We also have a live stream chat. We have a live stream chat in the Discord channel if you want to put it there as well, and then we can make sure we have it.
I've been looking at this chat. But I think if you wanted to start a love fridge of your own, we have people in the city who just like heard about us, started their own, and we were just like, sweet, we'll add you to our network. People just, DIY it, which is very close to my heart. But a good resources are places like the Fridge. We took a lot of inspiration from them and got a lot of information about how they figured out how to do their fridges and how they, worded their information and all of those sorts of things. So my recommendation to you is if you're interested in doing something like this, all you really need is the desire to do it and like the tiniest little bit of a plan. And you just have to find a place for it and do it yourself.
Well, I think it also takes a little bit of chutzpah because, the question that people will have on their minds is, am I going to somehow try to do something good and then be punished for it later, right? Because of people who might litigate over some issue or some food safety, guideline that hasn't been followed. I can see it didn't stop you. Obviously, the people who decided to do this together, came from, it sounds like you come from like a design background. You're a really good artist.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell from the photo you took, it just had so much personality. So
I didn't take that picture. I had someone take that for me.
What do you think
so
about these legal issues? Yeah. I guess the question is...
actually, on our team, we do have one person who is a lawyer who has helped us formulate that kind of stuff. We also got information on, off the top of my head, I'm hesitant to start giving you like names of policies and things like that, just because that is not my wheelhouse. But there are precedents in place for, being able to give away free food without, opening yourself up to litigation. But also as we've grown, we have had, one or two issues with things. One of them we got, it was in Hyde Park, I want to say near University of Chicago, which is it's on the edge of some poorer neighborhoods, but it's totally, it's University of Chicago, like that's where, all the professors live and stuff. So somebody got a complaint from the city, like at our thing there. And kind of what we just decided was, hey, we had to move this fridge. We're looking for a new location. We're going to do our best. Sorry about it. But, we're just it's just something that we've had to deal with. Because, as you grow bigger and as you have more fridges, of course, you're going to have somebody who has a problem. So we've been pretty good about staying on top of those issues and nipping them in the bud and communicating with the right people, communicating with our hosts and with other people in the community who can help us navigate that when we need to.
I just want to jump in for a quick second. You guys, so everybody can know what we're doing and what we're talking about. Josh is saying, please, share all these things. If there's any kind of links, if there is any kind of thing, like share it on your own thing. And Gina, you can do it too if like she'll give you the links and stuff, because it's not like it's nice for other people to hear what we have to say, and like if we're all just talking amongst each other. Anyway, go ahead.
I would like.
No, I can give you the links.
About how many people does it take to get this going? Like you said, it just takes a little bit of work. How easy is it to get together a group? If you where would you start in getting people together to volunteer for this and then maintain it? Because that's important too. You can't just have people who are coming in and have the will to do like a little bit of this or a little bit of that. You need a group that sticks together, right?
True. That was one of the challenges, was as soon as we started talking about it, everyone was crazy enthusiastic. And there was kind of a process of we had to wait for a minute and see who were the people who were actually trying to stick around and continue doing the work. We appreciate everybody we have a Slack channel. We appreciate everybody who's in our Slack channel, but we have about 15 to 20 people who are working, doing most of the work. And I'd say we have maybe 5 or 6 people who are driving and doing fridge things every day or every other day. But those are also people who are displaced by COVID anyway. So, they're just whatever, I'm just going to do this instead for a while. In terms of how to get one of these started, I'd say you need a fridge. You need somebody who has a general idea of like handyman type stuff who could either help you hook up the fridge or build a shelter if you need that. You need a place to put the fridge. It could be on your private property, or it could be in tandem with a local restaurant or a local organization who has the space for it and who has an appropriate place to like, plug it in and all. And I think the next step then is, you know, having one or two people who will check, who you know who are in your group who will be checking on the fridge periodically a couple times a week to go through and make sure things aren't expired, make sure it's clean and all of that.
So that is what the bulk of the volunteerism is right now, is actually just maintaining the fridge and making sure that it's clean and safe and all of that. I saw this great press article that you guys have up here that says there's a study that 1 in 6 Chicago households can't afford both bills and food. Is that something that you're aware of? Or?
I haven't seen this particular article, but it does not surprise me that there is such a crazy disparity. One of the things that we've started talking about, or in terms of the conversation that we're trying to promote, because it's not just, you know, I mean, obviously putting food into people's hands is amazing, but it's also the message that the fridges are carrying. So one thing that we've been trying to do is, you know, we talk about food insecurity or food insecurity, because food is not scarce. We have an abundance of food. It's just a matter of getting it to the right people. And then we're also trying to move away from the idea of the food desert and into this idea of food apartheid, or apartheid, however you want to pronounce it. In that it's something that's being done to people, that, you know, this is something that is happening to people, that the powers that be are making choices that are making them food insecure. So when we talk about Chicago, we're not just talking about the people who live on the north side like me, not just the people who live downtown, but you're talking about huge, huge swaths of neighborhoods on the south side and the west side that are physically cut off from the rest of the city and who are largely forgotten about by the rest of the city. So I'm going to guess that most of those 1 in 6 households are people who live on the south or west side. And most of our fridges we've been trying to set up on the south and west sides for that reason.
So I think that's probably telling, not just for Chicago, but the rest of the nation. I mean, that article focuses in on your city, but it's happening all over the country. In our town, it's Palestine, Texas is a small town in East Texas. We have about, I don't know, 20,000 residents, like when they calculated 10 years ago. I don't know how many we have now. And we don't have enough, we have a lot of different organizations, just like Chicago, trying to help keep us all fed. And it just seems like if only we had a universal basic income, we wouldn't have to be so concerned about all of this activity, trying to get the food matched up with the people.
Not only that, EBT like doesn't serve people who are like diabetics with like diabetic friendly food. And also a lot of places don't deliver for EBT cards. So it's like, you got to be kidding me that, like, you know, they're like, we have Jeff Bezos who could build his rockets to Mars. We can't put a tax of like 10% of those rockets to Mars, or like a yacht or a jet, just for people to just like just have enough to buy like quality food. And there's a difference between just going to the cheap fast food place to get like low quality food than it is to get some produce, which is a bit more, but not by that much. But it's like we do this. It's like we have this fake scarcity. There is no scarcity. It's all in people's heads, you know? Yeah.
Amen.
Again, it's like the article mentions not having enough money, I think, to buy the food. It's not that there's no food in our country. That to say that there's a lack of scarcity, it's just matching people up with the means to actually get the food.
Absolutely. I mean, it all goes back to, I mean, just thinking back to an entire sunroom full of food that would have been thrown out, that came from one grocery store. and just thinking how that is replicated over and over and over. Every grocery store, every restaurant, every so many. It's just, there's so much food. It's just a matter of getting it to the people who actually need it.
In some countries, it's actually illegal to throw away food, right?
I know that there's some, I don't know the particulars of like the legal stuff about that, but I know that there are a lot of legal barriers for businesses that, maybe they would just want to like stand on the street corner and hand out their food, but that's not legally viable for them, like as a business. For those reasons, like I said, the legal things are not exactly my wheelhouse, so I hesitate to say anything specific.
Well, I mean,
if we don't know of a country that actually has that law, we could do a mind experiment and just think about what would that be like if we had that law in like one city, like you're not allowed to throw away your food. What would happen then? But I mean, it would be pretty weird.
Yeah, that is a really useful thought experiment. That would be a good if you were doing a TED talk on like food scarcity, you would be like that would be like the opening. It would be like, imagine if it was illegal to throw away any food.
Entire business model is out.
What's really
the
dumb
buffet
is
model would be done. Like the Golden Corral wouldn't exist. Chinese buffets wouldn't exist. Just
the factories can just create this stuff like crazy. So it's that, but it's like the robots are the ones working, but they're not. They don't need money. So it's like tax the robots. It's like it doesn't make me because like Henry Ford said, I want everybody who works at my T model things that I want everyone who makes cars to be able to have enough money to buy a car. Now, do you want that same factory robot arm to have the ability to buy a car that it doesn't need? Tax it.
Yeah.
I think one of the strangest things about the way we've set up food in our society is the fact that you can have somebody who's living 3 houses down from somebody who's got so much food they don't know what to do with it, and somebody right next door who's practically starving to death, doesn't know how they're going to make it through the month, and have them not know each other and not be helping each other. And like it's so strange that we haven't found a way to distribute this better before now, that it takes something like this for us to go, wow, we should be trying to make sure everybody eats.
But also think about it. We could help other people understand what's actually nutritional. Maybe they've only been exposed to Top Ramen, right? And now they have the opportunity to have fresh food. I mean, if there was recipes of the week or something too, like people could be like, whoa, that's really cool. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think it's odd we haven't solved the problem. I see clearly why we haven't. It's a very profitable problem for a lot of people, A lot of people profit.
Not because it's disappointing, not because it's
well, I mean, this is what I said. They said like we're really trying to put band-aids on solutions that need like a tourniquet or like an operation, but the band-aid manufacturers aren't going to like that because they sell the band-aids. It's like, because if your whole business model is sending band-aids,
that's a ghoulishly accurate metaphor. That's terrible, and it's perfect.
Yeah,
Gina,
right.
Do you guys use some metrics to keep track of your successes and also possibly like how much food is being wasted, even through this, like people put stuff in there, nobody takes it, or, do you have any, are you guys keeping any sort of metrics on these things? Or how much food has been, taken from the fridge that actually, become more useful again?
Yeah. So we've actually just started on this. We've had some interest from like some graduate school people from say like DePaul and University of Chicago who are interested in helping us come up with ways to track our data, systems of QR codes, or being able to crowdsource like what fridges have what fridges need what. So that's something we're exploring right now. Overall, though, in terms of food that gets placed in the fridges, some of these fridges, the food is gone in the first hour, like, or most of the food will be gone in the first hour. It's actually really, like, people have started using these on the regular. People tell their friends, people, like, there's obviously like some group of like little abuelitas somewhere who are all texting each other being like, there's more food in the fridge, come on over. So yeah, to me it goes back to the
like commercials.
all that, but commercials.
Yeah, do you guys have commercials for this to like promote it or anything like that?
No, we've gotten quite a bit of press from local press, as well as some like things like I did a radio interview a little while ago for like a local syndicated radio show, Voice of Chicago, and a lot of it has been through Instagram, honestly, because a big part of that is that the restaurant industry in town has really like retreated to Instagram as like, that's where everybody is doing their like gray market, like, I make cakes, somebody order my cakes so I can, buy Christmas presents this year, things like that. So that was kind of where it started, and it still works in that
is that
world
the
fair.
restaurant, or is that actually more like a cottage foods at home type of thing, like individuals wanting to make a few bucks in order to afford Christmas?
Those are all like cottage industries, like a lot. That's, I mean, what we call it? We've been calling it like the gray market. Is like, a lot of these people, like people who were working at restaurants beforehand, or who were chefs at restaurants beforehand, who are now making stuff and selling it, or, providing it on a mutual aid basis, or, oh, hi, cutie.
That's my 7-year-old. Zephyr.
Oh.
He's playing games, trying to be quiet for us.
Where was I? I was saying, I was like,
you had a lot of
we were talking about how everybody had retreated to Instagram. Yeah.
So that's been a big locus of local organizing for Chicago in general, specifically for the restaurant, or like people, the restaurant diaspora, if you will, in Chicago. And that's really where the Love Fridge started promoting ourselves. So we're getting to the point of a greater.
And this is all this is all volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah. So what did Andrew Yang say? Andrew, like, everybody thinks like, oh, you stop incentivizing work with money and you give a UBI, oh, everyone's gonna stop because then what do you call this?
I know.
It's like everybody thinks that there's gonna be like a collapse of society if no one gets anything, but people take care of people and don't get paid. People are doing this volunteer work and not getting paid. And then the universities are always telling you work in an internship, work for free. They keep bashing that into your head. So it's like, can we at least have a UBI? Because someone who's in dire poverty without a UBI probably can't afford to have that internship because they need to help their parents with the bills, Yeah.
It's all very true.
It's just.
And I think I was just going to say that idea of like, that general idea also goes back to, it goes back to my yanggang experience and advocating for UBI, as well as this Love Fridge experience, is that each other. People know what they have to do to put food into people's hands and, take care of their communities. They just need to be able to do that. And to do that, you need a little bit of scratch to get it started.
And there's also like habitat. Some people just love the learning experience, even if they're not getting paid. Like what do you call that? Right. What do you call that thing, like Habitat for Humanity, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, school is work, and young people don't get paid to go to school when they have to memorize a whole bunch of things and study like crazy. Let me tell you, the things I did in school were much, much harder, much, much more complicated, and required much, much more effort than a lot of things I did at a paid job.
Agreed.
And we don't get paid for that.
And then they don't match up to what you're actually going to need to know. Whatever job you get, you're going to have to need on the job training anyway.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the experience at the sorority of Yang House and how like there was this beautiful like working together to make the food, and people were teaching people how to do things, you know, skills of like, oh, here, you need to learn how to edit, let me help you. Um, do you think there's any way that like something like this could also be like interconnected to programs that maybe recreate the sorority of Yang House, or like what are your thoughts on that?
In terms of like creating, I mean, this is kind of buzzwordy, but like creating like an intentional community that then is, you know, working on certain projects. Yeah, I believe so. I think that's definitely a model that's kind of what I ended up in when I was in college and we were doing Food Not Bombs. I mean, it was really more of just like a house that you lived in, and we also happened to do Food Not Bombs on Sunday. Or then you have the, you know, sorority of Yang, where we all came together to knock on doors and kind of accidentally ended up creating like a startup accelerate, like a community, like a policy and community and all kinds of things.
If you make work like something people want to do instead of have to do, they don't mind. It's not like the reason why people hate work so much is because they're like, oh, this again. It's because maybe it bores them. It doesn't fulfill them with a sense of purpose. And then people say like, no, it's about money. There are people who get paid tons of money and they're miserable. And there are people who hardly get paid anything and they're so happy. So it like we have to separate that. It's like, oh, but if we didn't pay these people, they wouldn't show up. You're showing up. A lot of other people are showing up because there's a difference between just being able to feed yourself and house yourself and pay your bills and a sense of fulfillment you get from doing something that you know is helping out. And people aren't naturally selfish and looking to like push people over. We have incentive designs in our system that get sometimes the sociopaths and the psychopaths and put them on the top because it incentivizes, you know, walking on each other instead of helping each other
being
out.
ruthless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it incentivizes it. It puts way too much emphasis on there being some kind of hierarchy, like this hierarchy between, you know, there are the people who have the ideas, there are the managers, and then there are the workers who are the doers. When in reality, it's like we all have ideas. We all have. This is something I've talked about also.
Yeah.
Something I've also talked about and been interested in lately, because there's a lot of conversation going on about restaurants right now since a lot of us are out of work. But talking about this overly militaristic, like brigade system sort of idea where you got the chefs and the managers who are the idea people, and everyone else are just workers, right? And they don't have any ideas worth entertaining. They just have to do what they're
and you know the amazing part of it is that if you're on some kind of form of welfare and they're seeing you going out into community and helping your community, they're gonna say, you're not disabled. Why are you helping people out? We're gonna take money away from you. What the hell? That's like the dumbest idea. And it's like you tell a conservative, you say, hey, like you're pro-work. Well, these people are working and the welfare system wants to pull their money away. What is that? What the hell is that?
Working. Like, I mean, it's almost like people like doing things.
Yeah. It's like oh they're on this welfare because they don't want to work. Yeah. Well, you know, if you gave them a UBI, they would just get the money anyway and do the work and not have to worry about it being pulled away. So I mean, all you pro-work conservatives, hello, like, you know,
totally. And then and then you gotta like with the, you know, welfare and everything. We've always talked about like means testing being such crap, and it just being like, well, yeah, then you don't have to be like keeping an eye on these people that you're so suspicious of, that whether they're getting their money or not.
Who punishes you for like helping other people and trying to like give more of yourself? It's the dumbest thing in the world. It's like, if you want to be like a helper in your community, we're gonna take away your help, because that shows that you don't deserve any help because you're helping others. And didn't we say that this is a government of, by, and for the people? So when the hell did that happen? You know?
Yeah,
It's really
it's
important.
unconscionable. It's unethical. It's backwards.
It's just dumb. Bottom line.
Yeah,
It's important too to
Real
recognize
dumb.
that a lot of people are doing work that can't go and do traditional work. A lot of people are stuck taking care of elderly family members, so can't go to a job. A lot of people are stuck taking care of disabled family members. A lot of people are disabled themselves, but are trying to find a way to start a business that works around their hours and their time by making their own. And that requires money and capital to make that lift off the ground. So there's a lot of work that is happening. People are working and just not being paid for it.
Right.
Even in the cases where they're not, going out and getting a job. We shouldn't expect
And it
everybody
just
going
boils
out
my
and getting a
blood.
job to survive, because there are a lot of jobs that we have that don't work that way, will never work that way, but still need to be done.
Yeah. And then I see that there are these people, like I see a movie like Wolf of Wall Street, and he's like throwing midgets at like a Target thing, and they're like all getting drunk and high and like sexed up and doing all these drugs, what conservatives hate, mind you. And they're just making tons of money just playing with other people's money like it's a toy. And they're and what the hell is this? What is it contributing to? Who is this feeding? Who is this helping? Who is this making houses for? Bullshit.
I was gonna say, I'm glad you mentioned that, Mia, because that was one of the things that, well, I think like the thing that got me interested in Andrew Yang as a candidate was in the second debate, how he, like, on stage in front of God and America and the whole world, said that there is unpaid labor being done by women and caretakers and everything. And I was like, that was like, it's a bedrock like feminist concept, like the double day and the unpaid labor and everything. And it blew my mind out the freaking window, like, to have heard that from a presidential candidate. I was like, you are kidding me right now. Did he really just like bring this up? I've never heard a politician bring this up before. This is
what
crazy.
about what about like inherited wealth and landowners or trust fund babies? Like, they're not doing anything. They just won the genetic lottery, and it's like, congrats. It's like, what do you? Oh, I own land. It's like, okay, how do you work for that? Like, what do you mean I own the land? It just like brings me money. It's like
some of us got into a Twitter argument with Nick Kokonas, who's the managing partner of Alinea, very famous restaurant, once or twice called like best restaurant in the world. Very, very fancy haute cuisine sort of thing. But we got into an argument with him on Twitter about, well, I wasn't necessarily arguing with him. It was mostly Amy and Christina, who are amazing. Oh, and Caroline, all from Sorority of Yang.
I love Christina. I was thinking she should be in on this call right now, man.
Right? That was one of the things that we said, though, where he was like, I don't understand. He was like, oh, so like, whatever. I don't understand how UBI works with that. And, we were bringing up, you were like, yeah, you need to be able to take financial risk. Kids with trust funds, like, piss away money all the time on risks and crazy ideas and stuff. All of these other people, like other people have ideas. They just don't have the capital to be able to pursue them.
Yeah, and how can you be a capitalist without capital?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So it all kind of like ties in. It's pretty sad that people can't open their mind. Like I have nothing against a person who like makes $1 billion, as long as like there's no one on the very, very bottom who's like worried about food and shelter. That's it. I mean, that should just be like covered. It's like I don't care, and I think that's really what separated us from some of these other like ultra progressives a little bit, because they like, we're not here saying like the rich are bad and they're evil and no, I don't mind if somebody's rich. It's just that, why should someone be suffering so much when there's so much abundance in our society? That's what I have a problem with. If you want to live your life and like go on plenty of vacations and have a jet or a helicopter and a penthouse and all that stuff, have at it. But let's just make sure that person isn't without shelter.
So the big thing, I think, is as a nation, collectively, we need to look at the things that are inevitable human needs in modern society and figure out ways that we can share that stuff. The whole take what you need, leave what you can thing, because these are things that are important for us. I mean, just even using the bathroom, right? This is an inevitable human need. To eat is inevitable. To lay down and sleep somewhere is inevitable. These are things we must focus on as a society collectively, and make sure we know the proper care and feeding of humans, and do our best job at it. You know, if we have stray cats in a neighborhood, there's probably still a crazy cat lady feeding them, okay? They still need food, right? Like
Right. And when you make the work of like helping people and building these shelters like fun and exciting and something that like brings people together, then we can have a UBI, because it's like people are just gonna be doing that anyway because it's in their nature. Let's just let the people. But then when you like put this boring bureaucracy in front, getting in the way of like helping people and making their lives better, why would you do that? Why would you create unnecessary complications for no reason? That's
It
like
kinda
going to
reminds
a
me
yeah.
of this story I heard about this community that built these tiny homes for the homeless people in their area. And it was beautiful. People were taking good care of it. They even had like little electric heaters and spaces like that. And because of ordinances and problems with the governing offices in the area, they tore the whole thing down after all that work was done. When it was improving the space, when it was making lives better. And
wait, they tore
we
it
live in a
down? Tell me
society
more
that
about
does
this.
that. That's terrible.
Yeah, a stupid one.
That's terrible.
Yeah, like that's terrible. And it's like, look, if you want to make these laws, then but are you helping these people get anything or making their lives better? It's like, no. Then leave the people who want to alone. It's like,
Well,
you know, that's
let us create the baseline. You can level up later, but don't fucking waste the energy that has been given, right? You know, if someone has
right.
a
Yeah.
tent that's falling
Bullshit.
apart, you give them a better tent, or give them, you know, a small house, right? Like level them up and make sure they still have that baseline. We all need a baseline. Otherwise we're falling through the
And then like Yang said, we pay for all not having all these things on the back end with like our prisons and like our healthcare and emergency rooms and stuff like that, which cost us like way more. Like Benjamin Franklin said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We're always going for the cure. We're never going for the prevention. It's like, hey, you know what? Like they drank the motor oil, but maybe it would have been better if we put it out of their reach to like prevent that from happening, you know? And this is what our society, it's like, just drink the motor oil and then like we'll pay for it later, but like not prevent it from happening.
Yeah.
I would,
and then
I
it
would like
costs us
to
more
compare-
money, and then that person has already been hurt or affected or
Right.
in whatever way. And then that's a whole bunch of new problems that they have to deal with instead of just having those problems being a non-issue in the first place.
Well,
Right.
because think about it. We're a car owner who's been running it into the ground instead of doing regular maintenance on it. And we're like, oh, that noise will go away eventually on its own because that's how cars work, right? No, we're like literally running our country into the ground. And at some point, you know, we either have to have someone who really knows what they are doing, or get a new car. But this is a country. We can't exactly just get a new car, right?
No respect for the other generation. It's like the boomers were like this bull in the china shop, and then the millennials just walked in, and then the shop owner is like, okay, it's your time to pay for it. It's like, God damn it. Like, what the hell?
The millennials walked in and the store immediately went into liquidation because it was closing.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the good stuff was taken, and all we had left were like slip covers that don't fit the chair we have and stuff.
Right, yeah.
Good times, guys. Good times.
Yeah, that's actually funny. They showed that like Biden is gonna go into like a White House with all these like Big Macs and ketchup on the floor and like stuff like that. Yeah.
I was gonna say we were talking about moving away from all of the bureaucracy and everything. That kind of ties back into we've been talking about mutual aid principles and how mutual aid is different from charity, in that it becomes like charity would be, you just, it's patronizing. It's just, I don't mean like charity, everyone who does something charitable. I mean, like in terms of the difference between that and mutual aid, it's like, you're dropping into the neighborhood and you're giving everybody a new pair of shoes and then you're peacing out and everything. Whereas mutual aid is very much the like teach a man to fish sort of. It's like give a man a fish and teach him to fish sort of thing.
Right. But then if somebody created like a robot that takes all the fish out of the ocean, then it's their like thing to like say like, okay, I need to use this robot wisely because I already told you. It's like creating a robot that takes all the fish out of the ocean and calling everybody else lazy that they're not getting the fish. It's like your robot took them all. It's like, dude, let's be reasonable.
For position with your robot over at the reservoir.
Yeah. So it's like we got to be reasonable. We got to understand that like it's not. Some people, I say they're not lazy, they're lost because maybe they want the training, they don't know where to get that training. They want to work, but they don't know where to get the work or who to talk to or how to interview, because just wanting work doesn't get you a job. There's so many steps of like application and networking and all that stuff that they never talk to me about in school, very seldom. And then they just, I think so. It's like,
that's where I'm at right now.
Right, exactly. And we got to address this. We got to say like, hey, excuse me, if we went through like 12 years of like public education and another 4 years to get more, you got to be bullshitting me that you're saying like, oh, sorry, the jobs are all out and like we really screwed that up. It's like, give me a break.
Sorry, I forgot to tell you that you have to schmooze these exact people, and then
it's and look, when Trump was speaking at the RNC, 7 other people there with the last name Trump speaking to. You think that's a coincidence? Because there's so much nepotism too, and there's like, oh, this is my son or this is my niece, and they have the job. They may not even be qualified, but I just give it to them. That's not meritocracy at all. Yeah,
that's right. It becomes this weird like hierarchical and hero and celebrity worship and like and nepotism and all of that when it's.
Can't stand that.
That's replicated in all kinds of other industries when it really should be. It should be a community. It should be like a system of cronies.
Right, and then some of these like celebrity worship and like hero stuff turns into a cult. It's like a cult. That a cult is not a meritocracy. Just blindly following someone, no matter what they say, just so you can accumulate brownie points, so you can make yourself look good next to the manager. Then like, why did we disattach from Britain and stuff? Because we said, hey, this doesn't work. It can't be like the king is like above the law and they have like all this disproportionate amount of power and we're just left to like go from their whims. But we've replaced kings and queens with like CEOs and like managers and like bureaucrats and nepotism and all this stuff. And it's like, hey, like that's not the American way. Like we've lost it,
It's like, oh, we're not allowed to criticize them because they're job creators and they're just like the best and brightest.
They're not. They're actually
exactly.
They're job destroyers because they replace you with a robot. They've destroyed your job. They've automated away your job. They've destroyed. They're job destroyers. What the hell are we worshiping? If they get
and before they replace you with the robot, they tell you you've never had a good idea in your life.
Right,
and you
exactly.
Don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here.
If the robot, if they can see that the robot can save them 2 cents, it's like that's 2 cents every hour. And for like a whole year, that 2 cents accumulates. They're like, okay, let's say
not to demonize automation too much. It's not automation's fault that it makes our lives easier and better. It's our fault that we.
It's the mindset around it.
It's our fault that we don't adapt and start caring about each other more than we do about old traditions and thoughts about how work should work. And the idea that we think that people need to work to be worthy of being alive in general. Like, the whole entire process, we should be entitled to be alive. We should be entitled to be alive, whether we are working or whether our work is play. However we choose to be part of a community, that should be enough for each other, particularly with the direction our society is moving inevitably towards. Work is not a thing we should even be like trying to extract from humans anymore. We should be away from that. We're not doing what we are capable of by a long shot.
Well, but
Right.
you know what's kind of beautiful is like the projects like the fridge project. Okay, this came out of a necessity and it's been growing, and people are banding together and evolving these ideas, you know, and people are activating, right? That's the biggest thing. People are activating left and right, whether they can afford to or not, but there's a necessity regardless. And a lot of people who are activated are like, well, shit, I can't be a bystander to this if I know what I need to do, you know. And a lot of us, we might be unemployed now, right? But it doesn't mean our like skill sets went away. They're still part of who we are. And so now we can refocus our energies to these new projects and evolve them. And then when you work with other people, like just beautiful things.
And let me also tell you, if you are unemployed and you're listening, it was not about your work ethic, because even if you showed up on time every day, if you did the right things, if you didn't create a mess, if you weren't like nasty to your coworkers, none of that matters, because this automated process can save here and there and here and there, and you're gone. Whether you were a good employee or a bad employee, it doesn't matter. It saves the money and you're a cost. They see it's more efficient, you're gone. So a lot of people blame themselves for like not having work or not having anything to do. It's not about that. These companies just care about their bottom line, but people internalize they're being laid off and they do it inward. Oh, I must have been lazy. I must have not been good enough. Because of our stupid culture that doesn't tell us the truth.
Well, and then, you know, there's also this thing of I need the money for this. So I went to this wolfing farm, you know, for Thanksgiving essentially. And there was a neighbor that had a farm with broccoli and tomatoes and peppers. And I literally got to pick the food for Thanksgiving, okay, from the farm to the table, right? And you know, I didn't have to pay for that food. It was a community garden essentially because it was the neighbor's house. But like, you know, at this other place, they have chickens and goats, and you know, they got all these eggs. They give away the eggs. There's too many of them for them to eat, you know. And it's just like this, you know, to hold on to this food would be like, you know, yeah, I got 6 dozen eggs now. You know, I need the money. That's great. Okay, fine. If you do need the money. But, you know, if you're like letting them rot because nobody's buying them, that's the issue. So then you want to give it away, right? Especially if you're the one who owns the chickens or whatever.
That's the thing. You know, what I loved about some European cities is that there was more of a sense of like community. They're like small and they're like, it's easy to walk in. And like people kind of know each other, but like you go out west in some places in the United States, everything is like a big box store. Like there's no nice place to like come together and talk and like get to know each other. It's like miles of road and like a bunch of big box stores. And it's like, what the hell is that? Like this isn't fun.
They're like food museums. You can go in, you can look, but you can't touch unless you have the money.
Yeah. Right.
All
yeah.
the prettiest fruits are on display, all the prettiest boxes with their shiniest wrappers. But remember, they're not for just touching. They're not for you to have. At the end of the day, if they go bad, they're garbage because they were never meant for you to eat unless you had cash.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty sad. And yeah, it's just and then it's like, oh, but if like you can have some of this like fast food stuff because it's at least a little bit cheaper, but it's like in the long run doesn't really help you that much.
Well, okay, so I want to talk about this farm that I was on too. Like, you know, I went there and they raised the pig, the duck, and the goose that was used in the Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, they raised that. But then, you know, they sent things home with other people and the leftovers went to the pigs, you know, like of the other kind of foods too, you know, like the pigs just took care of it. And so it was like this, like even the animals can still benefit after this, you know. But like, I don't know. people go to that farm and they stay on the land and they get their basic needs met. They get housing and they get food, they get experience, and people are okay. And some of them, artists can take residency and propose like what kind of art they want to do, and stay there for 3 months. Some of these things are paid, not everything, and there's resources available for people to tap into these. And I almost feel like we just need to get all the homeless people kind of on board with stuff like this, because guess what? Then they can learn the skills they could use in their own life,
It sounds kind of like a kibbutz experience.
Oh yeah.
What is that? I'm sorry.
I think it's like go ahead.
It's a Jewish communal farm, right?
It seems like a common experience for young people to seek out as they're heading out of their like embarking on their adulthood journey, right? As you come out of high school.
I was on a kibbutz.
Like a pilgrimage.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then you could tell us more about it.
Yeah.
I knew Ariel would be able to.
It was a crazy experience. Just like my dad was telling me that I like adventure and stuff, and it's going to be great for me. So it's like a farm in Israel where people kind of work the land and stuff like that, and you learn Hebrew too. But I was driving me nuts because everybody there was like a hippie. They were smoking and drinking and being all like that. It just didn't jive with my personality. I'm a bit of a nerd, not really a hippie, but it was fascinating. People from all over the world coming to this place in Israel to learn Hebrew and learn farming and all this stuff. And we had these little houses. It was actually an ulpan. That's where you learn Hebrew. But that's amazing, Faye, that you know about the you have Jewish friends that told you, or did you just look it up?
I was married to someone who was Jewish, so my two older children are halfsies. Except of course, since I'm not Jewish.
Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, because it is that thing. Yeah, so that's cool that you. But that's what built Israel when Israel was coming up, because most of that land was swamp and stuff, and it wasn't really thing, and they just worked the land. It was pretty amazing, what they did with a little bit of grit and passion and stuff like that.
Well,
how long do you sign up for when you go to a kibbutz?
It was 6 months. I only lasted 6 weeks. I had to.
Yeah. What happens if you're I have to leave? What happens then?
Well, no. Luckily for me, I actually have a really, really old YouTube video about my kibbutz experience, and I was not happy. I can actually share that with all of you.
Pretty funny.
But thank God I had family in Israel, and they came and they got me, and I just spend the rest of the day there. Oh my God, it just brings back so many. I'm gonna share that video, but because my roommates didn't respect my personal space, and they were coming, and there was this English guy, and they were walking into my room while I was sleeping at night, and I had this fridge. Remember, I went to bed and it would bang on the door while I was sitting, and I couldn't sleep, and then I woke up and they were
love fridge.
These birds. These birds are chirping, but it was funny. It was interesting when I look back on it, but it was just not for me.
I know that feel. I'm sure I know that feel. I'm sure that there's a lot of different, depending on the kibbutz you end up at, there's a lot of different, characters and whatnot. I'm sure a lot of them are different types of farms and stuff.
Have you been on one?
You were on one?
No, I was not. I'm familiar with the concept in terms of it being a model for an idea of communal living and sustainable farming and all of those kind of things.
So
right.
I wanted to bring something up too, though. Gina, Christina, but we were talking, and she was talking about how you could stay on one of these farms for a certain amount of time, and there was almost, as she talked, a progression of how you could get your own land. It would take several years, but if you I think it was 3 years, and then you could get not at this particular farm. I don't remember the specifics, and I want her on so she can explain all this, right? But essentially, you could like start wolfing, and then you could build up a skill set, and eventually you could get grants if you stayed around for like 3 years to get your own land. And like it was just this almost you would have to commit to it, right? And my biggest question, I was like, how would one start? And like the sad thing is they're like, well, inherit land, like I'm like, oh god, that's terrible, but that's kind of how it is these days. But these people went onto this farm that was just trees, right? And for 9 years they were building and adding plumbing, and they were learning all the things. And one of the things Allison said, who owns the farm, it's called Habitable Spaces. Anyway, she's like, you got to learn everything yourself, because otherwise you won't have enough money, right? Like you have to learn. And I thought that was kind of a beautiful sentiment, because like if you don't take the time to learn something and you don't have money, it's not going to get done.
Yeah. It does help to have a community, whether it's like already set up for you at the kibbutz, or if you inherited the land and you gathered together like 6 or 7 of your friends and decide that you're all going to learn how to install plumbing in the wilderness and stuff. But yeah, a lot of that is, I mean, if you either have to have the money, or you got to have a bunch of really, really awesome people who are going to help you figure it out and DIY it.
Well, what was cool is
really
like Christina was in one of the original tents on the land to help build this, right? And so she saw it before.
I actually talked to Christina about this, and I really need to.
Dude,
I know way more about restaurants than I do about like farming in particular.
I mean that's why Thomas Paine came up with his agrarian justice. That's what he called his original proposal in this country for UBI, because it's like, look, like the land doesn't belong to anyone. It was there before we were born. Like it didn't speak into like the stomach of a mom and say that this I belong to this kid that's about to be born. Like it didn't. It's land. It's just under our feet and we're walking on it. So it's only fair that if we have these land, the land that people have, that they pay a rent to the rest of the people of the world that what they took, because
well, the other thing too is you get connected to your food source. Think about it. We are so disconnected. People are like, where's the origin of that package of meat? And they're like, oh, the store. There are some kids that literally don't know where their food comes from. They just assume it appears at the store magically,
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad.
I was going to say that actually, no, this what made me think of earlier is, Faye, you said something about like maybe they only have been exposed to top ramen. My friend Manny, who volunteers with Love Fridge, said that they delivered they had a bunch of butternut squash that they delivered to a fridge somewhere on the south or west side. And somebody literally was like, I don't know what this is. Like, how do I cook this? I've never cooked, like I've never seen this before in my life. And Manny's like, oh, wait, you just cut it up and put it in the oven. But like literally people, like that's a real thing. People they're not just disconnected from where their food comes from. They're disconnected from fresh food. That's but the whole thing with like doing the fridges and having it not be just, random distribution and stuff, is being able to have fresh food, and for people to maybe for the first time in their life encounter a butternut squash and then decide that they like it. And then maybe they'll buy a butternut squash later and eat it and it'll be great.
When I was 13, I had this huge preference for packaged food. Like I was just like kind of learning to cook for myself, and it was just all the worst possible things, of course, because that's the easiest stuff to prepare. And also I got really into the precise mathematically calculated nutrition. And I was like, it has a label. I know what's in it. Fruit? I don't know what's in it. Who knows what's in fruit? Could be dangerous. Gotta stick with the Chef Boyardee. That's safe. It's like that was a terrible mentality I developed.
Here's what UBI, I love like doing experiments, like a scientist seeing what goes where and what does what. UBI is like enough money so you can experiment with different things. Maybe this thing right there is really, really expensive, but you're not going to know if you want it or not. So you can save some of your UBI money. You try it once, and then maybe you say, hey, I don't like it, so I'm not going to use it. Or maybe like I like it. But if you don't have that initial thing that you can just try something, then you're never going to know like what could that have led to. What if like just money for like a travel expense to like go somewhere and like understand a new way of living, just to kind of have that like people who have more experiences are like wiser. So we're not doing ourselves any favors by like taking away money that they can use to kind of experiment with and see what's what.
Well,
I was gonna say that. Oh, sorry. I was going to say that also ties into what Andrew was talking about during the primaries about how that poverty or living without access to things that you need ultimately takes a mental toll on you. And I think that really, really gets expressed in food. When you're stressed out, you're not going to try and figure out how to cook with leeks for the first time. You're not going to like be experimenting with that kind of stuff. You're going to go for the Chef Boyardee because you know it'll fill you up. It's comforting to you. You can eat it fast, whatever. You don't have to think about it that hard.
Right.
But, maybe you have a little bit of extra money and for the first time in your life, you're not suffering with food insecurity. And maybe you do want to learn how to make potato leek soup this time.
It's not just the individual who suffers because, instead of going to like the local cafe and spending like $10 on a meal, you're going to go to McDonald's where you spend like $4.
Also.
Well, okay. So when I went over to Faye's house and stayed with her, like she made food I've never even heard of or fathomed existed. Okay. And she made me try things I've never tried before. Okay. And like some of that was like mind blowing. Okay. So now I wouldn't have had that opportunity because I would have never even gone shopping for that stuff. 2, I would have never like known what to order if I did go to a restaurant that offered the same thing, and by staying with her and experiencing her food, I got to experiment with what I would maybe want to, and maybe she feeds herself better with healthier food than I do. Right. But then she also went to this community garden with her son and me. And like, we literally, what was it? Sweet potato we pulled up. And like we were able to take it and and it was rewarding, but also you learn about the food and that you got to wait for it to like get to the right everything. And I wouldn't have had that experience if she wasn't going to this community garden, but that was like an hour drive away or something. So like the gas money just to have this experience was kind of ridiculous, but it's worth it to her and the education of her son, because now her son is connected to the earth and understands things.
But the reason you have to do this is because as low income, apartment dwellers, we don't have a space of our own. So the space that we have to grow something would be literally just the 1 foot next to the wall, like out from the apartment. And in order to do that, you'd have to make sure that nobody else, like people who like to keep the grounds right, they wouldn't come and disturb your garden while it was still trying to grow and all that, and not like mow it down with their whether or like it's just kind of crazy. So it's like but so that's another thing that people have done. I think we could talk about all of the different there's so many different ways in which people have tried to meet this problem where people in these big cities don't have a connection anymore to the land. And I'm in a rural area and I don't have a connection because I don't have any land of my own. And so, everybody else there's people who have acres and acres near me. I can't use even like, a little plot, So it's interesting that they have like community gardens in Seattle. That was a big thing. There was a lot of community gardens where I used to live, and you could like maybe get yourself a little plot, and it could be closer to you than 45 minutes away to drive. But I love a lot of the fridge, the community garden, and then what about restaurants taking their food? Like, what about all this extra food at the end of the day? Where do restaurants? I know that there must be some places where the restaurants actually have a service where they, somehow give the food away.
Yeah, the bigger ones and whatnot. We've had a lot of, this isn't really as much about waste food, but we've had a lot of local restaurants that are, of their own volition jumping in and being like, we're going to deliver 30 meals to 3 different fridges today. Like, we're just going to make a bunch of meals. We also have some other small local, local chefs or like home chefs who have the ability or who have a some kind of like ghost kitchen set up or whatever, where they can, package things in a sanitary way and label them and all of that good stuff. We also just had, this is not necessarily fridge related, but the same people who own Mars Brewery, there's this amazing dude, Wan Kim, who is in there. He's also got a restaurant called Kimski, and there's a restaurant that is not his, but that is also in there called Mom's. And they've just started a community kitchen, and it's straight up, it is a restaurant, is a pay as what you can restaurant on the south side there in Bridgeport. And just unconditional, like, if you can pay, please do pay it forward, but you don't have to pay. Free food for everybody. So it's something that a lot of us in that world are thinking about already. And maybe that's also a side effect of, like, farm to table became a thing, like, as I was getting into the industry, and people are way more conscious of that in our scene and whatnot. So yeah, it's all connected.
But there's an explosion of all these different creative solutions to the problems that we're having. And yours is definitely an amazing one. But there's also, like, for example, I'm always interested in the communal cooking of food too. Because then you can have that sorority of yang experience where you are, watching each other do things with it. And you could just have a little taste, taste it. If you like it, maybe you'll try. Rather than going 2 hours and maybe wasting some of your food because you didn't know quite how to handle it. So
we have a community garden on the south side that's been doing, like, little skill share sort of things where somebody will come by and teach everybody how to cook a certain thing. And there's videos of kids being like, hey, I made this for the first time today, or we roasted all these pumpkins or whatever. And so yeah, it's families from the community, it's kids and adults. And they all get together and at the community garden and learn how to make things out of the stuff that they've got.
So what I would like to see one day, though, is for an easy access to these kind of, if you walked into a new city because you're a traveler or you just recently became homeless, you could literally just walk in and know about these things. Or there's, like, a map to all these services, and like, make sure that, no matter where you stand, this land is your land. You belong here too. And you can eat, and you can learn new things and meet the community. You can bond, like, I feel like this is something I would love to see our society gravitate towards.
Well, here's something they have in Europe, right? I had heard when you go traveling in Europe, that one way to do it very cheaply is you can stay at something called the youth hostel. And I always wondered why we don't have a system of these things in our country.
That's what I did.
I
did that in New Zealand, Australia, Japan, Sweden, England.
Mine was in Europe and stuff. And yeah, a lot of them are, they're in every city. There's multiple ones of them in every city. And especially in towns like even Bratislava gets a bad rap. First of all, Bratislava rules. But they have a big university there. So they have like 20 hostels because it's a popular stopover. So everybody can stay there if they need to. But yeah, I wish we had more of the community. I wish we had more of the youth hostel and community hostel kind of scene in the States. That would be really neat. It would be way easier to travel around the States.
We have them in some states. There's this big thing called HI International, and they're in, like, Chicago, New York, here in LA, Portland, Oregon. Yeah, but maybe not as much as Europe, but there are in the United States as well. And I've been, because when I didn't have a passport, I went to some of them. Yeah.
Okay, so how is a youth hostel different from just a regular motel or, other types of
Well,
accommodation?
I mean, this is a motel, this is a hotel, and a youth hostel somewhere in the middle. Because I actually I get bored in a hotel because there'd be no one for me to talk to. So
Same.
a youth hostel, at least I have people to talk to, and then I just go to hotels and I pretend that I'm going to stay in them. So I just want to look at a room. So I just say like, oh, I'm looking around. I have no intention of buying it, but like just to make me feel good that I can afford it, I just tell them to look at one of the rooms and look out the windows and stuff and like look at the lobby and stuff while I stay, and then I go back and I stay at my youth hostel. So I have the whole experience.
Okay, so the youth hostel sounds like you would be less lonely because it's a communal situation where
Yeah,
you have
like
other people in your room.
100%. Because like
We're often staying in.
hotel, I think family. A youth hostel,
I was
I go
thinking
alone. Yeah, go ahead, Gina.
you also like usually you'll end up in some kind of communal room. Sometimes it's like really communal, like there's like a few bunk beds in there and like
Yeah.
6 people, random people sleeping in there. And sometimes it's a little bit more private or a little bit more whatever. But then there's also, there's the understanding that, after you have a cup of coffee in the morning, you're going to wash out your own mug or.
Yeah, but I mean the conversations I
Interesting.
had with some of these
Yeah,
people were like so interesting to like find out about where they came from. And
totally.
actually I stayed at a hostel in Hawaii. That was pretty fun.
Ooh, that's
Yeah, yeah, and the best thing about it is like the money that I saved while staying at a youth hostel, I use that money for everything else. I
right.
buy these fancy
Was it
tickets to like
completely
somewhere.
free or just discounted?
No, it's discount. It's like highly discounted. So because you're sharing, so it's like a big discount. So all that money that I saved from not spending somewhere that's fancy schmancy, I use on like all this other cool stuff that the city has to do. So it's a win-win for me because the
Youth
hotel is
hostel
making me bored.
probably. I don't remember how much I paid, but I want to say that it was, like I want to say
Like
like
50 a
10
night.
euro, 10
Yeah,
euro a
that's
night.
nothing. That's like what? Like
Nothing, yeah.
that's like $15, not even 14. Like yeah.
Then you get a coupon for free shots at the bar downstairs
Oh,
and things
and they
like that.
also have like discounted. They also have discounted like tourist attractions
Oh
for
yeah,
you to do as well.
you can get discounts on museums. A lot of them they'll have some kind of like how the library you'll have a museum pass that you can use. Also, it's run by locals, so they'll tell you all of the spots. They'll be like, yeah, go over here. This is a really good place. This place is a little more expensive,
So I feel like Airbnb has hostels listed as well, right? I
You
feel
do.
like I've seen them.
You can book them through Airbnb, but they're still that like they're not in.
I think this is like Americans just like there's Faye, but then there's your average Americans that like are not nomadic. There's like and then there's like they're not nomadic at all. It's like some people it's just the same routine day in day out and like nothing changes. Work, Netflix, sleep, breakfast, work, Netflix, eat, sleep, breakfast, and eat, because the money never like reaches to a point where that cycle can break. I think that's what keeps us thinking. And then it's like it's such a liberating feeling to like break a monotonous cycle of like boring stuff you have to do all the time.
Hell yeah.
You know?
So
Yeah.
that 9 to 5 grind is what you're talking about, the 9 to 5, and then all the kids in school, everybody's settled in a house where they don't move from place to place, from year to year, or month to month, or day to day, as our good friend Faye does. But it's like, why should we preference this lifestyle to all others? Right? All children must be in school, and so therefore you're tied down. It's very strange to me.
That's the opposite of freedom. Being tied down is not freedom. I think there's more freedom in like Europe and Asia than in the United States, where we have all these things that are tying us down. It's ironic.
Yeah,
there's more of like a appreciation for non-traditional and more like collectivist and more like those kind of situations.
And even like I grew up in a Persian family, and like at those times, like we were all getting in the car and going somewhere interesting, or like to the beach, or like a hike something, or like a picnic picnic and stuff like that, and like because like we appreciate that stuff, but then like later, like when my grandparents passed away, it's like we kind of stopped doing that, and like
Well, in the United States, even though we have a lot of non-traditional families now and more, different types of people in our country, still there's this very, very strong, even legal, sort of bias towards the respectable two-parent family. Everything has to be exactly the most average possible in order for you to gain that respectability.
Boring.
But if you ever have to go to family court or ever have to, fight some sort of legal battle, your job giving you the correct amount of money, all of these things make you the winner in the outcome of the court cases and legal battles is gonna.
Oh, you're the responsible one. Oh, praise to you. Yeah.
You're doing the right things, right?
Yeah, the right things. Even though the right things got us into a crisis where we have corona and race riots. Yeah, but all those right things led to this. Give me a break. This is pretty. It's pretty. I mean, somehow like the hypocrisy has to be.
You're like, look, this is the problem, and you keep ignoring what's right in front of you. Are you awake? Are your eyes open? Are you actually looking around, or are you just looking at the television screen? And they're saying, "Oh no, it's all going to be all right." Yeah. And like, next thing you know, a zombie's walking past you. I don't know.
Right. Well, it's just like have you all seen that meme with that dog in like the house fire, and he's just has his cup of tea. It's fine, right? Exactly. That's Congress. Right? Like look at how many vacations they've took in the middle of a crisis. It's like, oh my God, my house is on fire. What should I do? You can go on vacation. Oh, okay, I'll go on vacation.
So it's it'll be interesting about that. I was just looking into bills and laws and stuff because I know nothing about them. And like there's certain things that could get passed if they don't like if they aren't in session, right? And that's interesting to me. So they're like, what, purposely not going to work so that they can pass things? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Sounds bad.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they don't like to work either.
Wow.
Yeah, no, there's a lazy. You want to talk about laziness and not doing your job?
Right.
Senators, congressmen, and how much money are they getting? Like here you are doing work without getting paid, and these people are getting overpaid and not even doing their own jobs. Boom.
Delegating all of the actual work to their staff and pages and things like that.
So the love fridge that you guys are running
is actually raising as opposed to what it should be, which is making laws and making our lives better. But for the most part, they have to.
They're just sitting on their lazy butts,
which is on its own not the job they were hired for, but the job that the system has created for them, regardless.
Look, like we criticize that guy on the street for saying like, "Do you have some change?" And all these senators and congressmen are like, "Please donate, please donate. How much you want to donate?" Like, so aren't you guys the lazy ones? You already have enough money. Why are you asking it from us?
I pulled it up. A bill becomes law if signed by the president or if not signed within 10 days and Congress is in session. If Congress adjourns before the 10 days and the president has not signed the bill, then it does not become law, aka pocket veto. If the veto of the bill is overridden in both chambers, then it becomes law. So that's what I was looking at. And
it's weird because law is about all these games that people play. Once you have the rules, you play the game to the rules, and you say, "Oh, technicality."
Hang on. Did you guys know? Look, if you look on Trump's calendar, he has nothing scheduled. Even though he's technically still the president until the 20th, he's asking for a job that he's not even doing, and he's out playing golf and just bitching on Twitter all the time. He's not doing his job as president right now, and he wants to keep it for another 4 years. Come on. Just
because absolutely nothing happens now that he's no longer really
right
in
now
charge.
Now that he's not getting real. Look, no. Jimmy Kimmel always pulls up his calendar. There's like meet and greet and nothing for like the whole rest of the day. There's like nothing on there. Come on.
Well, this has been a very lively discussion. The love fridge,
Yes.
unfortunately, is like also not a traditional family fridge, and so you have to do all this extra work to make it extra more cleaner and better than every other fridge in the world. But because you guys are doing this, Chicagoans can enjoy it. Just wonderful. We would love to.
One last thing that was very convenient that we started talking about, like being influenced to play into this like nuclear family idea and like a certain and the 9 to 5 and everything like that. Like that's what really oh man, I had it in my head and now it's gone. Oh no, I was going to say this all kind of ties back into like the mutual aid and also the idea of like there not being this separation between, you know, managers and workers and everything. Ultimately, I think when you're being told what to do and you're being held up by bureaucracy and everything and all of that, what they're really doing is denying you your humanity. Like when managers talk to workers and tell them that, like, you know, what they think doesn't matter and they're the ones with all the ideas and stuff like that, you're ultimately denying those people humanity. So
Right.
in my opinion, things like UBI and also doing like mutual aid that seeks to give unconditional food or supplies or whatever is honoring people's humanity. Like
Right.
everybody has a different way they think, a different way they want to live their life, and trying to nail somebody down into a particular way is denying them their humanity. I think
and that's not
UBI
freedom.
can help alleviate that.
Well, I wanted to
And
let
that's not
everyone
freedom.
know that we are coming to the end of our scheduled time together, and since we have another podcast later tonight, I want to respect everybody's schedules, and I want to give everybody a chance to let us know if there's some way that you would like our listeners to connect with you on social media or someplace else, so they can continue this wonderful exchange of ideas and, you know, just learning about the things that everybody's doing. Do you have a social media platform, Gina, where you like to be contacted?
I do. I am most active on Instagram.
Okay.
My name on Instagram is Chernina. It's easy, ERNINA. I'll type it in the chat so you guys can link it or what have you. But also just at The Love Fridge on Instagram is very, very active. And that's where we do a lot of our it's The Love Fridge Chicago. TheLoveFridgeChicago.com. I'll also put that in there. And I'm also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Gina from Chicago, all one word. But I'd encourage you to check out The Love Fridge Chicago on Insta, because that's where we post most of our news and where you'll find a lot of resources and other things that we post. Also, thelovefridge.com. But I posted that in the chat as well. So if anybody wants to link it to whatever social media or anything, you can find it in there.
How about if they put the Love Fridge on the Love Boat episode? That'd be so.
Oh my God, I would love that. I love cheesy old TV shows.
You could just reenact it for a commercial, right?
Right, yeah.
The Love Fridge.
Yeah.
Okay. And Faye, thank you for inviting our wonderful guests today. Would you like to tell us about what you're doing lately? And
yeah, thank you again for coming on. I was really excited. The moment I heard about this project, I was like, this girl needs to get on the podcast ASAP. And then I totally dropped the ball for like a solid month. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Faye. Thank you.
Yeah.
And other Faye.
I want everyone to know about all these projects, right? So right now, if you want to reach out to me on TikTok, Twitch, or Twitter, it's Tisdoney, TISDONEY. And currently, a couple things. The first one is I'm trying to help someone in Kenya who's been on our podcast. His name is Vincent, and he's trying to start a nonprofit out that way. They need $50 to get the nonprofit status application, essentially, and they're eventually going to try and get like $10,000. But right now they're looking for laptops. If anyone has laptops, either help me with money. So I have extra laptops, right? And I want to send them to them. But so I have 3 and they need 10 for their organization. Contact me if you have any of those resources. The other thing is I'm trying to get down to Georgia to help out. My biggest Patreon subscriber pulled funding due to personal circumstances. So I need gas money. I've started to GoFundMe. It's on my Facebook page and I think even my Twitter. I'm not sure. But anyway, if you have anything to spare so I can go down to Georgia to help out there. They're trying to flip the Senate, but I really kind of just want to be a pseudo reporter for them. And talk about it on the podcast so we can have like eyes on the ground and whatnot. So, those are the things for me today.
Wait a minute, Faye. You haven't told us about, do you want people to join you on your live chats? Because I see you hop on quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if they want to, I love meeting people and talking to people in any capacity. I'm really bad at like dropping the ball for like consistent communication just because I'm like doing a million things. But yes, if I'm on a live stream chat, please talk to me.
How would they find it if they wanted to join your live streams?
So I do it on Twitch for the so Twitch TV, twitch.tv/Faydoney, FAYE. No, maybe that's Tisdoney. Tisdoney, TISDONEY, for Twitch, and that's how you can find me.
Awesome. Let's get our channels hooked up together. Okay. So Joshua, are you here with us?
I am. I apologize. I was doing all the social media stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
You can add me on Twitter at Joshua Eastlick. That'd be great. And I'll be launching a YouTube channel probably within a week. So it'll be YouTube / Joshua Eastlick. Thank you.
What are you going to do with your YouTube channel, Josh?
I'm talking about politics, research, marketing, all that stuff. So I'll be putting it all as like a educational,
you definitely channel. Hook up with mine, and I'm gonna plug it right here.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ariel.
Nice. Okay, so you can find me at Ariel's Aerials. So that's ARIELS AERIALS. I love drones and things that fly. And then also youtube.com/revolutionary thinking. I'm on there. So if you want to, if Gina, if you want to do the thing and talk about the love fridge, I could have you on like my channel too. And we can do that. I have about 1,000 subscribers. And and I just wanted to say, Gina, I hate paperwork.
I'm down anytime. I'm happy. I love talking. To you.
Awesome. You were talking about
hate paperwork.
Yeah, you were talking about the bureaucracy. Like, I can't stand that stuff. So we'll get along fine.
No, you and yourself.
We're like a meta podcast of podcasters who love talking. And so we all have like our other projects going on. My name is Faye Koo, and I'm at Palestine Math on Twitter. And you can find me sometimes on Yang Report Live on Facebook. Mia?
Hi, I'm Mia Songbird on Twitter. I do Humanity Hangs Tuesdays and Fridays. I am going to be doing 6 to 9 on November 30th, phone banking for ASAF for Georgia. So if anybody is interested in doing that, I will be there. We could hang out, show up, do some good for Andrew Yang and for the future. We need that Senate to be able to pass anything.
Get Darth Sidious out of there.
I had a very good Tuesday. I got to speak to Andrew Yang and had a really fun time there. So if you want to go and watch that is on Andrew Yang.
Well, Mia was the guest of honor.
YouTube channel. You can go and see me there.
Yeah.
Mia was a guest of honor, one of the honored special volunteers that was a super volunteer for Humanity Forward and Humanity First movement. So,
and you were the
Thank
first
you,
of
Mia.
the first of all of them, right?
Thank you,
there's
Mia.
other ones, but you were like the first person. So I'm just like, this girl, she's getting it. Right, yeah. So
yeah, you don't even have to watch
again.
the whole thing if you want to see me on there. You can just like watch the first 10-15 minutes and then watch also Nell's on there. Nell's great. You guys know Nell Neves. a bunch of really great people were on there. Watch the whole thing. Don't just watch me. Other than that, I'm also going to be in the future working with Boys on the Low, so watch out for that in the future. And
I can't wait.
That's everything I got. That's
It's
everything.
gonna be like UIT for Yanggang. So yeah.
Yeah, I love where you're sitting right now because there's all these really interesting shadows with going on. This is the first time I've seen this
Yes,
background.
there are. I've got my new boom mic here. Let me.
Ooh,
Is that working?
look at that.
I don't know if it's even working, to be
Excellent.
honest.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got the box lights that are here for lighting that I don't know how to use either. Whole bunch of stuff I don't know how to use. So I'll be figuring that out. And
Maybe you should talk to Boyce. He knows that setup.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be happy to help me out here in a little bit. But,
I can probably help you
I'm
out.
playing around with it and pretending I know what I'm doing.
It's
These
I
special,
could probably help tell you.
are these special Thanksgiving presents from your family or?
Some of it was from Boyce
Oh,
as an
wow.
investment into the Low. I got myself the green screen and the mic because the one I had was not working out too well, and I sounded like I was underwater when I was on replay, so that was not great.
Let's
And
get a
yeah,
new
and
mic.
I'm having a really good. I'm having a really good time. I had an inheritance that finally came in, so I feel bad. I invested in myself.
Look at that! Money fixes everything.
I invested in myself a bit. I feel bad about it though. In a month
That's
or
the
two, I'm
thing.
going to be sitting there.
You shouldn't feel bad about it. That's the missing piece. You gotta just give yourself permission to invest in
Yeah,
yourself.
like I bought that.
It's
really
really easy to say that
expensive-
now, but when
I
I
know.
need to pay off the gas bill and
I mean, I felt the same way when I bought that drone, but then I was like, no, screw it. I deserve this. I mean, I put so much of my time and effort into, stuff that I do, and like I put my heart and soul into things. Why don't I deserve nice things? So
yeah, there's
try
no
to-
room for beating
yeah.
yourself up in such an
Another big-
unequal society.
Yeah,
Another
like
big
look at all these
investment-
people. Like Trump's just playing golf and he makes like millions for like not doing shit. So why don't I deserve nice things?
my other big investment is in my
Leader
health
of
and
the
getting an
free world.
It's in the
exercise
wrong
bike.
business.
Old.
Clearly, I got to become president.
Exercise bike?
Right? Yeah. Like I do a better job in president as him. That's for sure. I mean, I wouldn't spend all day playing golf. I'd actually enjoy the job. I'd actually try and do something.
You probably have enough. You don't have the Dunning-Kruger where you would actually delegate important tasks to people who know what they're doing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Shale, thank you
Yeah.
for
So
holding
President
down.
Trump can play golf. You deserve that mic. Whatever. Go ahead.
Shale, thank you for holding down the YouTube stream today. I'm sorry
yeah.
I wasn't able to get the Twitch going.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I had said I was going to switch. Our surprise guest the other day said maybe the reason you're having all these problems are you on restreams. So that kind of made me think.
Yeah.
I never even tried
experiment with
restream. It's just I've heard a few bad things about it. I think it did work that one time we did it with this. I don't know. Figure it out. But yeah, we're on just YouTube today, not. But
Well, thank
you for
you.
watching on
And will you take us out?
yeah. My name is Shale. My Twitch. Well, yeah, my Twitter is Shale Riley. SHAEL RILY. Everyone spoke or listened. Great to all of you, especially guest Gina. It was really great to meet you. You're welcome back anytime. I post the schedule every Thursday, so you're welcome to come if you see someone you know and you'd like to speak with them or just like listen to the conversation. Feel like hop on in. Very casual. So
I'll keep it as per usual. It's with creating any kind of community. Sometimes people just need to be given permission to join on in. So you'll see me around, I'm sure.
great.
Nice.
Awesome.
I really thank you so
Yay.
much, everyone, for having me on. It was so awesome to talk with you guys and meet you. And I'll catch y'all on the flip side. And we'll all be doing really cool stuff.
So the way to
You're
join
amazing,
in
Gina. Thank you for joining us.
every week on Thursdays, Shale posts our schedule in the schedule chat in the text channels. See, And if you go in there, you'll see who you can be looking forward to talking to every weekend if you would like to join us. Just hop in on this voice server anytime. All right, very good.
Yeah, now that I'm in the Discord here, I'll keep it in mind. I'll keep an eye out.
Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
everyone.
Let's go.
I would stop